So we're going to redo the 2015 NBA draft, and you see Karl Anthony Towns in the footage right now, and you saw him in the thumbnail, and you assume that Towns is still going to be the number one overall pick in this thing, right? Well, I'm not going to take very long to surprise you, as well as create a controversial opinion, because with the number one overall pick, the T-Wolves still draft Karl Anthony Towns. This isn't even a question. Towns is a beast. He looks like a shooting guard with the way he attacks the rim sometimes. I saw him hit like some reverse layup the other day against the Chicago Bulls or something. He looked like he was a 6'5", athletic Kobe Bryant, even though Kobe's 6'6", but don't worry about it. Towns' ability to hit from outside, from mid-range, use his athleticism to beat anybody, as well as post up. He's just the ideal number one pick for the T-Wolves, and even if there is some pretty steep competition, especially towards the top of this draft, I think you still have to have Karl Anthony Towns number one. He's going to be one of the best players in the league for a long time. And he's the number one overall pick. Now, number two, the Los Angeles Lakers select Kristaps Porzingis. Sorry, Knicks fans. Luckily, this is a video. You still have him in real life. And the interesting thing with Porzingis is how he would fit in with the rest of this team. I know they already have Julius Randle, but given how good Porzingis becomes, you tell Randle to get over it. And if anything, you might have yourself a trade piece, or you could potentially play them together. And I really would love the idea of like a Brandon Ingram and Porzingis pick and roll, because I imagine Porzingis, even in his rookie year, wouldn't elevate these guys to too many wins. So the Lakers still end up with Ingram, and I would also love to see how he would fit in with Jordan Clarkson and Luke Walton and just the entire culture of what the Lakers have going on right now. And I'd also be really interested to see how Porzingis would fit in with the Los Angeles culture. I feel like it would either go really frickin' well, or it would be really damn awkward, and I don't know which one. Now for the third overall pick, the 76ers select Devin Booker, and in a result of doing this, they become the best team in the NBA for the next 15 years. Because Joel Embiid is a frickin' beast, who's probably going to be the best player in the NBA. Maybe not that good, but I think top 10 and perhaps top 5 is very realistic for him. But then there's also Ben Simmons as well, who they drafted this previous year. And it seems like the Simmons-Embiid pick and roll and just those two playing through each other is going to be really damn difficult for opposing teams to deal with. And then you add in Devin Booker's ability to score and hopefully getting a little bit more efficient on his three-point shot. They would be impossible to defend. And similar to Porzingis at number 2, I don't think Devin Booker being drafted last season would make them too good to where they wouldn't be able to draft Simmons this year. Because, I mean, what are you going to do? If you want to double team Embiid, you better pray that the Sixers don't know what they're doing in terms of game planning. Well, crap, if we want to help, we have to do it with Booker's guy, which means it's going to be 3 points on the board, or he's going to take us off the dribble. That's actually a really damn scary thought. Now we're about to get Knicks fans back in this thing, as Miles Turner would go 4th overall to them, and Turner's in the similar mold of Porzingis. He's not as good, but he's a big man who can shoot. He's pretty athletic, so he can move up and down the floor well, and he has shown effectiveness in the pick and roll, especially in the pick and pop. And while he's not a freak of nature like Porzingis is with being 7'3" with the shooting ability, Miles Turner still seems like he's going to be a pretty damn good player on both ends of the floor. Turner's pretty good. His mid-range shooting and eventual three-point shooting would help out the Knicks quite a bit. But if we fast-forwarded 3 or 4 years, could he really be the leader of a team like New York? I don't know. But he is good, and Knicks fans would still be happy with him. The 5th overall pick, that's Justice Winslow to the Orlando Magic. They originally drafted Mario Hezonja, who has not worked out, to say lightly. So Winslow would step in for them and would give them, of course, the defense, as he seems like a guy who can defend multiple positions, and someone compared him to Andre Iguodala in my comments section. That's actually pretty accurate, because he also has the ball handling and playmaking abilities that have really stepped up in his second season. So I think Orlando would go that route. Would he be the ideal fit with Elfrid Payton? Probably not, but at least they'd be guaranteed a good player at the wing position, rather than what they have at the moment. Now, while Payton might not be the best fit, I would actually love to see Winslow working with Aaron Gordon. I think that could be something pretty effective in the open floor. And also, Winslow has been credited for his composure and his leadership qualities, even though he's a young player. And I think given how much turnover this Orlando roster has had over the past few years, it would be good to have one of your stable pieces be someone who's like a real voice and a real leader for you as they transition to hopefully a good team at one point. So Winslow would be awesome for them. Fortunately, they're going to need a bit more help on the wing. With the 6th overall pick, the Sacramento Kings, looking for a point guard, select D'Angelo Russell, which means Rajon Rondo never happens, which is probably a good thing. They already have Darren Collison, who's a nice player, but they go with Russell because they believe that the star power can be more than what Collison can give you, even if he gives you a consistent like 13 and 5 every night. Plus, there's no one else available who really has star power at this point, who would be a good fit with this team. And an interesting lineup that they could roll with would be like D'Angelo Russell and Darren Collison in the starting lineup. 2 guys who can handle the ball for the Kings. Could just be a nice lineup, something that the opposing team could have a tough time defending. Would it fix everything in Sacramento? I don't know about that, but I think it would definitely make things just a little bit better. Now for the 7th overall pick, the Denver Nuggets actually select Emmanuel Mudie. They stay with him because the need at point guard is just way too real for them, and given that D'Angelo Russell's off the board, Mudie is kind of the next one in line. Has his NBA career been the best so far? No, there are some nights when he looks like he's just having a tough time. Perhaps he should have gone to college for a couple of seasons, as he sometimes seems overmatched or just a little lost. Can't hit a jumper, can't really finish at the rim. But you see that the frame and the athleticism and the natural playmaking he does show on occasion, and you think, well, if this guy can just develop the all-around game, he can be a fantastic point guard. And again, given that the Nuggets have decent players at all the other spots, and there's a huge need at point guard after the Ty Lawson situation, they still draft Emmanuel Mudie. Next up, we have the Detroit Pistons, who select Norman Powell, who is a defensive player, and that's been his one calling card in the NBA. And then when he's gotten the minutes, he's also shown to be a good three-point shooter as well as capable offensive player, someone who can fit into a team system but not force the issue necessarily. They originally drafted Stanley Johnson, but his jumper has just not come around, whereas Norman's has been good. They're getting a very similar player, but one who is better offensively, so they're going to go with Norman, and they have a pretty interesting wing situation with KCP, who's a very good defensive player, and then Tobias Harris, who can hopefully grow there, and then you put Norman Powell there as someone who can also be a 3-and-D player. It's a nice thing going on with the Pistons. And now you've probably been asking yourself, where the hell is Jahlil Okafor? He's going to go to the Charlotte Hornets at number 9, because Jahlil, he's a very good post-up player. He has a lot of troubles on defense, and I think, given that we know that, I think a team like the Hornets could actually be a good spot for him, because there's a lot of defensive players around him. Of course, there's Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who's one of the best wing defenders in the NBA. There's Marvin Williams, who's a 4 who can play off of a center like Okafor, because he can shoot, but he's also a nice defender as well. Nicholas Batum, while being inconsistent, is still a plus defender. But then above all that is, if Jahlil Okafor's lack of defense is just too bad for you, you can put Cody Zeller back in the game, who's damn good when it comes to the defensive side of the floor. And I think Okafor could give them that one offensive boost they really need next to Kemba Walker. And I think that could actually be a really interesting thing with Jahlil Okafor on the Charlotte Hornets, probably coming off the bench. And then finally, number 10, Josh Richardson. He actually still remains in Miami because the rest of the guys here just aren't really the offensive options that he could be. If it wasn't for his injury, I could see him putting up 15 or so points this year, while also being efficient from 3, as he shot like 50% from outside in his first season. So, and then besides that, there are a few more names: Sam Decker, Larry Nance Jr., Trey Lyles, Tyus Jones, Montrezl Harrell, Jordan Mickey, Rashawn Holmes, Stanley Johnson. Those are the guys we would see rounding out the lottery, as well as like a couple picks afterwards. I think I'm done with this thing. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.